You keep choosing the same type of person, and it always ends the same way. You find yourself in relationships that feel strangely familiar, even when they hurt. That partner who is emotionally distant, or overly critical, or simply unavailable. You tell yourself it's bad luck, or that you have poor taste. But what if it's none of that? What if you are not making a choice at all, but following a script written long ago, in the silent rooms of your childhood? This isn't about fate. It's about repetition. It's about the unconscious mind trying to solve an old, unresolved pain by recreating it over and over, hoping for a different ending. Today, we will look at how your adult relationships are not random. They are echoes. They are the invisible hand of your past guiding you toward the very dynamics you once needed to survive, but which now only make you feel lonely, even when you are not alone. We are going to uncover the hidden blueprint of your heart, the one drawn in the ink of your earliest wounds. Think about the last time you felt that familiar sting of disappointment in a relationship. It wasn't a surprise, was it? It felt more like a confirmation, a quiet voice inside you that said, "I knew this would happen." You meet someone new, and for a while it feels different. There's hope. But then a pattern emerges. They start to cancel plans last minute. Their texts become short and distant. Or maybe they make a casual remark that feels like a small cut, a remark that lands on a part of you that is already bruised. You find yourself working harder, trying to be more perfect, more understanding, more quiet, just to keep their attention. You become hyper-aware of their moods, walking on eggshells, trying to prevent the withdrawal you sense is coming. This isn't the dramatic pain of a breakup. It's the slow, grinding ache of a connection that feels one-sided. It's the feeling of being an option, not a priority. It's the loneliness that settles in when you are sitting right next to them. You tell yourself you are too sensitive, that you are asking for too much. You convince yourself that this is just how love is, a constant negotiation between what you need and what you are willing to accept. But this feeling, this specific flavor of heartache, is not random. It is a precise recreation. It is a stage play where the actors have different faces, but the lines are all the same. You are not reacting to the person in front of you. You are reacting to a ghost. To understand why this ghost feels so real, we have to go back. Back to the first room where you learned what love was supposed to feel like. For many of us, love was not a simple warm blanket. It was a transaction. It was conditional. Perhaps a parent was only truly present when you were sad or in trouble, teaching you that care and concern are only summoned by pain. Or maybe a caregiver was critical, their approval always dangling just out of reach. So you learned that to be loved, you must be perfect. Or love was inconsistent, a flickering light, sometimes warm and bright, other times gone completely, leaving you in the dark, waiting and watching for its return. In that early formative space, your nervous system was mapping the world. It was learning the rules of connection. And the most important lesson it learned was this: love is tied to a certain feeling, a specific kind of tension, a particular dance of pursuit and withdrawal, of earning and failing. This is where the blueprint was drawn, not with malice, but with the simple, flawed humanity of the adults who raised us. They were likely following their own blueprints, their own unconscious scripts. The child you were could not process this. They could not say, "This is an unhealthy dynamic." They could only absorb it. They could only learn that to feel loved is to feel a little bit anxious. To feel loved is to work for it. To feel loved is to occasionally feel unseen. This early wiring becomes the default setting of your heart. It becomes what Freud might have called the compulsion to repeat. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are loyal. You are loyal to that original feeling because to your unconscious mind, that feeling is home. That feeling is what love is supposed to be.
So you walk through the world and your unconscious mind, like a skilled casting director, is drawn to people who can deliver those same lines, who can recreate that familiar emotional atmosphere. The partner who is distant feels like home because it echoes the parent whose attention was a scarce resource. The partner who is critical feels like home because it mirrors the voice that told you you were never quite good enough. You are not choosing pain.
And so you recreate it. You find the person who holds the promise of that old, familiar love, and you step onto the stage. You play your part perfectly. You become the child trying to solve the unsolvable puzzle. You pour more love into the distant partner, believing that if you are just patient enough, kind enough, selfless enough, you will finally receive the warmth that was withheld. You bend yourself into new shapes for the critical partner, polishing every flaw, hoping that this time your perfection will be enough to earn the approval you have always craved. You are trying to heal an old wound with a new person, but you are using the same methods that failed you the first time. This is the heart of the repetition. It is not a conscious decision. It is an automatic pilot of the heart, steering you directly into the same storm, hoping that this time you can navigate it, hoping that this time you will not feel the same shipwreck. But you always do. The collapse is not in the loud arguments or the dramatic endings, though they may come. The real collapse is internal. It is the quiet crumbling that happens when you realize you are doing it again. The moment you hear yourself making an excuse for their behavior to a friend, and the words feel worn out, like a script you have recited too many times. It is the exhaustion of constantly monitoring your own behavior, of trying to be someone else to maintain a connection. It is the profound loneliness of being in a relationship where you cannot be yourself, because you learned long ago that your true self was not quite lovable enough. This is the price of the repetition. It drains you. It silences you. It teaches you to distrust your own needs, to see them as burdens. You start to believe that you are too needy, too broken, too much. The relationship becomes a cage built from your own past, and you are both the prisoner and the guard. You are reliving the original pain, but with the added weight of adult awareness. You know it is happening, and yet you feel powerless to stop it. This is the cruelest part of the pattern, the lucidity that comes with the cycle. You see the walls closing in, you recognize the pattern, and yet some deep, loyal part of you still believes that if you just try one more time in this specific, familiar way, you can change the ending. But what if this recognition, this very moment of lucid pain, is not the end of the story? What if it is the beginning of a different kind of understanding? The collapse is not a failure, it is a signal. It is the part of you that is no longer willing to stay silent, the part that is tired of the old script. When you feel that profound exhaustion, that deep-seated loneliness, even in the presence of another, you are not falling apart, you are waking up. You are starting to see the invisible strings that have been pulling you all this time. This is the moment when the unconscious pattern begins to surface into the light of your awareness. It is uncomfortable, it is painful, but it is also the only way out. Because you cannot change a pattern you cannot see. This ache is the truth knocking at the door of your heart, asking to be let in. It is the realization that the love you have been seeking from others is the very love that was missing from that early room. You have been trying to get a drink from an empty well over and over, blaming yourself for your thirst, when the problem was never you. The problem was the well. This understanding is not about blaming your parents or your past. It is about seeing them and yourself. They were giving love from their own emptiness, from their own blueprints. And you, the loyal child, learned to accept that as the only kind of love available. Now, as an adult, you are finally realizing that you are no longer that child. You have a choice.
You can stop trying to get the past love from a present person. You can see the ghost for what it is, a memory, a feeling, a pattern, and not a command you must obey. This is the point of change. It happens not in a grand gesture, but in the quiet moments. It is the moment you choose not to send that extra text to the distant partner, and instead sit with the anxiety that comes up. It is the moment you hear a critical remark, and instead of shrinking, you feel a small, solid voice inside you say, "That is not true about me." It is the moment you realize that the love you truly crave is not the love that feels like familiar tension, but a love that feels like peace. A love that feels like home, not because it is familiar, but because it is safe. This is how you break the repetition. Not by fighting it, but by understanding it. By bringing the unconscious into the conscious. By realizing that the script was written for a child in a different time, and you are now the author of your own story. So I want to ask you a question, and it is the most important one you can sit with right now. In the quiet of your own mind, when you think about the relationships that have hurt you the most, what is the familiar feeling that they all share? Not the person, not the situation, but the core emotional sensation. Is it a feeling of waiting? A feeling of never being quite enough? A feeling of having to earn your place? Can you see the outline of that same feeling in the earliest rooms of your life? If this quiet understanding resonates with you, if it brings a sense of clarity to the patterns you have lived, then this channel is a space for you. We explore these hidden landscapes of the heart together. If you would like to continue this conversation to understand yourself more deeply, please like this video and subscribe. It is a simple gesture, but it tells me that these words are finding their way to those who need to hear them. Thank you for listening. And this is where the real work begins. Not with grand declarations or sudden transformations, but with a simple, almost quiet, shift in your awareness. You start to notice the pull of the old pattern not as a command, but as an invitation you can now choose to decline. You begin to see that the anxiety you feel when someone is distant isn't a signal that you need to chase them. It's a signal that an old wound has been touched. The criticism from a partner doesn't mean you need to become better. It means you're being asked to play a role you outgrew long ago. This understanding is not an intellectual one. It is a feeling that settles in your body, a slow unclenching, a release of a breath you didn't know you were holding. You realize that the love you have been desperately trying to curate from others was, all along, the love you needed to give to that part of yourself that still lives in those silent rooms. The part that learned to associate love with struggle. The part that believed it was unworthy of simple, easy affection. This is not about becoming someone new, but about coming home to who you have always been, beneath the layers of adaptations and survival strategies. It is about gently disentangling your present self from the loyal, aching child of the past and telling them, "I see you, I hear you, and we don't have to do it this way anymore." The compulsion to repeat loses its power when it is met with compassion instead of resistance. When you stop seeing your patterns as enemies to be defeated and start seeing them as ancient, misguided protectors, you can finally thank them for their service and let them rest. The blueprint doesn't disappear, but it ceases to be the only map you have. You learn to navigate by a different star, the quiet, steady light of your own conscious understanding. You begin to build a new definition of love, one that is not written in the ink of old wounds, but in the present moment of safety, respect, and mutual recognition. This is the most human and real process there is, the slow, patient, and often messy work of choosing a different path, not because you hate your past, but because you have finally developed a deeper, more tender love for your future. So I want to ask you, in this moment of quiet understanding, what is the one small thing you can do today to honor that part of you that is tired of the old pattern? Not a drastic change, but a gentle acknowledgement. A moment of pause,
A single breath where you choose to respond to the ghost not with fear, but with a quiet, "I know you, and I am making a different choice now." If this quiet shift feels like a door opening, even just a crack, then you are already on the path. If you want to explore these rooms of the self with more clarity and companionship, please like this video and subscribe. It is a way of saying that this conversation matters and that you are not alone in it. Thank you for listening. And in the quiet that follows this understanding, a single question remains, not to be answered aloud, but to be held in the silence of your own reflection. When you trace the outline of your heartache back through time, past the lovers and the friends, past the disappointments and the longing, what is the one constant note playing in the background of every scene? Is it the hollow sound of an empty chair where someone should have been? Is it the tightness in your chest that comes from holding your breath, waiting for a warmth that never quite arrives? Or is it the faint, critical whisper that has followed you from room to room? Do more, become more, just to be worthy of a simple, steady love. Can you feel the shape of that old, familiar absence? Can you see how it has been the silent director of your life, casting every role, writing every line, all in the hope of one day filling a void that was never yours to fill? If this recognition brings you a strange sense of relief, a clarity that feels both heavy and freeing, then you are not just watching a video, you are beginning a much deeper conversation with yourself. If you would like this channel to walk with you in that process, to help you translate these whispers into a language you can understand and live with, please like this video and subscribe. It is a quiet way of saying that you are ready to listen to the parts of you that have been waiting a very long time to be heard. Thank you for listening. And so you carry this absence with you, not as a burden you chose, but as an atmosphere you learned to breathe. It becomes the very air of your relationships. You mistake the ache of that old emptiness for the pulse of love itself. You believe the tension is passion, the uncertainty is excitement, the constant striving is devotion. But it is none of these things. It is the echo of a room where your needs were not met, and you learned to stop asking for them. It is the ghost of a love that was always conditional. And so you learned to make conditions for yourself. You became your own jailer, repeating the sentence of that first loneliness over and over, believing it was the only story you were allowed to live. But here is the truth that your unconscious has been protecting you from. You are no longer in that room. The people you are trying to get love from are not the people who first withheld it. The script can be rewritten, not by force, but by a simple, profound act of noticing. Noticing that the hollow feeling is not a command to find someone to fill it, but a signal that a part of you needs your own attention. Noticing that the critical whisper is not a truth, but a recording from a time when you had no other way to understand the world. This is the gentle end of the repetition. It does not happen with a bang, but with a whisper. The whisper of your own awareness, finally turning inward. Finally listening to the child who has been trying to solve this puzzle for a lifetime, and gently telling them, the puzzle is over. We can go home now. So I ask you, in the quiet space after these words, what is the name of the absence you have been carrying? Not the story, not the person, but the core, empty feeling. Is it a silence, a coldness, a sense of being fundamentally overlooked? Can you, just for this moment, stop trying to fill it and simply sit with it, not as a flaw, but as a historical artifact of a love that was, in its own way, incomplete? If this feels like the beginning of a truce with your own past, if it brings a sense of relief to simply name the ghost, then this channel is here to continue this quiet exploration with you.
If you would like to understand these patterns with more depth and compassion, please like this video and subscribe. It is a small but meaningful way to say that you are ready to listen to the story your heart has been trying to tell. Thank you for listening.